Our second speaker today is Michael Kort. Evaluating Michael Kort will be Mary Gaffner. Mary, please tell us Michael's objectives and his times.
Excuse me. Michael's objectives today are to select the right words and sentence structure to communicate his ideas clearly, accurately, and vividly. To use rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize ideas. To eliminate jargon and unnecessary words. Use correct grammar. His time will be 5 to 7 minutes.
Public speaking is difficult for many people. Even those who are comfortable in front of an audience may have some issue to overcome in their public speaking ability. Today, Michael will talk to us about one of the issues he faces while speaking. Michael Kort's The World's Most Difficult Speech. The World's Most Difficult Speech, Michael Kort.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. She sells seashells by the seashore. Tongue twisters. They're kind of fun, but what are they actually for? I've always kind of assumed, and maybe it's true, that tongue twisters were to help people speak who have a speech difficulty. Well, I have a little bit of knowledge in that because I suffer from stuttering. Now, suffer is probably a little strong. I'm mildly annoyed by it. I don't have difficulty communicating. I can talk with people. I can get up and speak. But every now and then, there are certain words or a certain combination of sounds that give me problems. It acts sort of as a roadblock in my speech. I'll be talking and then hit something that causes me to stop. My coping mechanism usually is to find a way around the roadblock, to think ahead and say, oh, I think there's something I'm going to have trouble with. I'll just use a different word. So that way, I don't have to say something that I think is going to be difficult for me. And it gets you through, and it's okay, and it works. But what do you do if there isn't another word to substitute? If you have to say that one word, now there's a problem. I don't know what to do. I'll give you a couple of examples. This is not a life-altering issue, but not being able to say a certain word at times does affect your life a little bit. I said 2 examples. Let me give them to you. A few years ago, I was hooked on these chicken sandwiches from Wendy's. I loved them. I'd go there for lunch, and that's what I would get. And I decided I also like to have, and here's one of the words, barbecue sauce put on the sandwich. And there isn't another word for that. So if you can imagine, I'm driving up to the drive-thru, got my window rolled down, and I'm going, okay, I can say it. Barbecue sauce. That phrase is hard. Trying to psych myself up, I get up to the window, and the conversation goes something like this. Hello, sir, what would you like? Yeah, I'd like a chicken sandwich, please. And what would you like on that? I would like, what are my choices again? Well, let's see, we have ketchup, barbecue sauce, mustard. Yeah, I'll have that one. Mustard? No, the one prior to that. Ketchup. No, the other thing. Ketchup? Yeah, ketchup. So because of that difficulty, I didn't get what I want. Not a big deal. Sometimes it is a little bit different. Another example that was a little more serious for me. About 4 years ago at my company, we were evaluating 2 different vendors to work on a large project with us. I was to be the project manager. What this meant was I would spend the next 1.5 years working very closely with this company, whoever we chose. Well, the final proposals came down to Converteam and ABB. Again, those sounds, like the B sounds, must do something for me. I had trouble saying ABB. Well, I found myself during our meetings where we are evaluating the quotations, I kept going, you know, this Convertine one looks really good. I think, I can see that. That's really not the way to go about it. I shouldn't let my ability to say the company's name affect whether or not we should work with them. I realized then, okay, I need to do something. For the first time in my life, I should actually take a positive step and try to correct this. Well, it turns out, I did a bit of research, that UNR has one of the best speech departments in the country. Dr. Carrie Lewis is famous in her field for what she does. She runs the department down there. Well, I went to visit them just to see what it was all about. I met Dr. Lewis, and she explained to me that her department at UNR is a teaching college, meaning that she would have graduate students essentially conduct the evaluations and the therapy. She would be involved, but it would work like that. Fine with me. So I go in for my initial interview. Now, if you can picture this, I'm in this small room, 3 graduate students. Because it's a teaching college, each room has a 2-way mirror. And that's so Dr. Lewis or one of the professors can sit behind the mirror and evaluate the students. Well, I'm sitting there, they're asking me general questions, all 3 of them taking notes. How long have you stuttered? Do your parents stutter? Do you have any other issues? I'm answering the questions, and then they ask the question that I'm expected them to. What sorts of words do you have problems with? Well, good, I pulled out a list. I made a list. And the student, oh good, can you read off that list for me? All of a sudden, I hear this from the hallway. And then the door bursts open and Dr. Lewis comes in. What are you doing? Don't make him read those words. Isn't it patently obvious that's why he's here? Despite that inauspicious start, I continued to go and get some advice and some work on my speech. In fact, one of the students made a little card for me when we worked on the different techniques. This is sort of to remind me, as I'm speaking, I keep it in my wallet. Every time I take out my wallet, it reminds me, oh, I need to think about some of these things. I'll give you an example. For me, when I speak, I tend to, at times, speak a little too fast or try to say too much in one breath. So one of my main objectives is to breathe. And that's hard for me at times. Now, in the therapy, we go through these things and everything is exaggerated. So when we breathe as we're speaking, we really breathe, which works fine in a clinical setting. But when you're out amongst normal people, it doesn't always work right. If you can imagine, it's almost having I call it a Marilyn Monroe effect. You know, I'll give you an example. Oh, no, officer, I didn't realize I was speeding. It's probably not the best thing to do. I titled the name of this speech, The Most Difficult Speech in the World. No, it really isn't. It's not that hard. But I knew coming in that I have to say a couple words that are difficult. And for me, it might be, well, if not the most difficult speech in the world, probably the most difficult one that I've given so far. That's why I come to Toastmasters, because it gives me a chance to practice and to use some of these coping mechanisms and a way to improve myself. Now, everyone in here probably has some issue with speaking, whether it's being nervous or whether it's speaking loudly or anything. And that's why we're all here. So when you leave today, I want you to think about what is your most difficult speech in the world, and then get up and share it with the rest of us.